Oof, oof. It is not looking good for HiDive right now. We might be seeing the very first signs that HiDive themselves might be dying. Either that or they're just kind of pulling back the reins and trying to keep it in a very stable position so that they don't have to worry about overextending themselves. It's obvious that Crunchyroll has been taking pretty much the entire market. Crunchyroll is becoming the monopoly of anime. If you want anime, it's Crunchyroll. All the titles are there. They're licensing up pretty much everything. And HiDive's over here. Yes, you can include Netflix. You can include Disney. But those are kind of Disney's dabbling in it, and Disney's probably not going to stick around. They tried it, and I think they're pretty much giving up on it. Netflix is over here. They're mostly paying into their own anime. It's not as if they're grabbing up many of the actual licenses that are happening in a season. Crunchyroll right here, they're grabbing all the seasonal anime. They are just snatching it all up. They want everything. HiDive's over here going, did you miss anything? Like they're literally skidding around the room trying to find out, did they miss something? Oh, they missed something. Grab that. Things like Oshinoko was an anomaly. Like I completely didn't expect that. I don't know how they managed to get that show. All I can imagine that Crunchyroll was sleeping or somebody at HiDive knew somebody. But that was an anomaly. For the most cases, it's really like HiDive is just grabbing these measly things, or they're making direct contacts with companies in Japan and getting some sort of exclusivity. We had this recent one where they got with a TV broadcast company to get their offerings. And even then, they still missed many of them. But no, Crunchyroll is just taking over the market. And unfortunately, what that causes is that companies like HiDive are over here just not getting much. And what that does to the average anime fan that doesn't really care about if Crunchyroll becomes a monopoly. They're not paying attention to that stuff. They just want to, they press a button, Crunchyroll comes up, and they get all of their anime. That's all they care about. They don't care what Crunchyroll does. They don't care about the future of anime. They just want it all in one place. And that's an unfortunate reality. A lot of the more in-tune anime fans, they don't want a monopoly. I think some in-tune probably do too. They just don't see the effects that can come from that. But most people, they just want one place. And because of that, companies that are trying to climb up, companies that are trying to give other offerings, give other service available, it's not happening. It's just not happening. Even with Disney and Netflix, they're trying to grab that market, but they can't because Crunchyroll has it all. So why have multiple subs when you can just have Crunchyroll? And again, the unfortunate effect that comes from that is that nobody really cares about this other company. Even happened when Oshinoko was going. When Oshinoko was going, everybody was raving about it. And yes, HiDive did see record numbers. Now, you can argue that part of that was because they were giving away free memberships and stuff, but they've seen record numbers. And they didn't hold on to it, unfortunately. Once Oshinoko went, it disappeared. And even with that massive bump, it was nowhere near the numbers of something like Crunchyroll was getting. So that's the unfortunate thing that happens, is that HiDive is just never going to be as big as Crunchyroll. It's never going to be able to climb up. It's dealing with the effects of a monopoly. Now, it's a monopoly that can't really be controlled because technically Crunchyroll is going out of their way to license items. They can't give up offerings to HiDive. Now, there was a question mark for that when Sony bought Crunchyroll and Funimation if it was a monopoly, but as I've joked about before, probably somebody just handed somebody a couple dollars and it went through. That investigation for a monopoly didn't really handle much. It didn't go very far. But anyhow, that aside, the unfortunate side effect of that is that HiDive is struggling. It is not getting up there. And yes, technically before this, we've seen a lot of signs in the idea that it seemed like they were losing a lot of relicensing. Like a lot of their old catalog was just falling off the platform, which is extremely unfortunate for a lot of people. They want to be able to watch their shows when they want to watch, especially if there's a multi-season. And you go back there and you're like, oh, I want to watch the first season. It's not there. I had that problem here recently. I wanted to go watch Familiar Zero, and they have one season. They have Familiar Zero F or whatever. That's the only season they have on there. All the rest of them are gone. It's like, but it was Sentai. I have them up on my shelf up here. Where'd they go? You guys had them at some point. I know you had them. It's just kind of seeing that slow decline. And now we have our biggest one right now. HiDive is pulling out of other countries. It looks as if they are getting away from the mindset of being worldwide, global. They're pulling all their resources in. They sent out an email to a lot of people that were notifying them that their their services are closing. If you're in this region, your account looks like it's in this region, we're no longer going to service there. They end up releasing some press releases later on, not press releases, but really on their support page, you can find these postings. But they said, we're currently evaluating the HiDive offerings and our area of operation. And unfortunately, the service will no longer be available in certain areas outside of North America as of December 14th, 2023. Going forward, we will endeavor to make our content available to you via local platforms when possible. Please note that you will have full access to our content library on our website, HiDive.com, through December 31st, 2023. We sincerely appreciate your business and apologize for the inconvenience. What this is stating here is we're evaluating this, we're looking at this stuff, we're looking at the numbers, how many subs we're getting, pretty much, how many subs we're getting, how many people are interacting with our platform. It's not worth it. We're not getting enough people. Now, I'll get into all the reasons why possibly later on, so don't go down in the comments right now and say, well, there's a reason why we're doing that. Just hold your horses. We'll get into that in a minute. But yes, this is them pretty much seeing that, yeah, this isn't worth it. It's not worth our money. We need to pull back and downsize, essentially. They're having to downsize at this point. And again, that's one of those signs of fear. They're losing licenses. They're downsizing. They're pulling out of worldwide distribution. They're pulling away their distribution centers. They're not paying for all those distribution centers. They're pulling it back to one location. Well, multiple locations. I'll get into the full list in a minute. But they are technically stating here that going forward, we will endeavor to make our content available to you via local platforms. So it does look like, despite the fact that they are shutting down HiDive, they're wanting to make sure that those licenses that they have in those regions will possibly be available in certain locations or certain platforms. So it could be like, yeah, maybe Crunchyroll. They could possibly, if you are in one of these regions that are pulling out of, they could possibly give some of their, like, say, Eminence in Shadow, they can give that to, say, Crunchyroll in that region, and they can handle it. So it does look like they're trying to possibly look to still have that content available. It's just HiDive.com is pulling out of there, which is, again, very unfortunate, but it is what it is. Their follow-up ticket they had, because obviously a lot of people are going, what the hell's going on? What give me more information. Explain. They say, we apologize for the inconvenience. The announcement about our leaving service is for most non-speaking countries on December 14th of 2023. After that date, our services will be available in the following countries. This is it: United States, Canada, Ireland, United Kingdoms, Australia. Just those 5. That is quite a pullback from what they've had available before. Now, granted, a lot of these extra regions are regions that they just kind of popped in like not even a year ago. So it didn't seem like they lasted much there. I think one listing I had like Spain, Portugal, Netherlands, Germany. I think that's another big one, is Germany. France is another big one. Italy, Scandinavia, South Africa, and Oceania. So yeah, a massive pullback. And again, that's very unfortunate. Now, why? Again, I've spoken extensively on the aspect of them essentially not having enough of an offering for most anime fans. Most anime fans, they want one place to go to, and they get the most there. If you're looking at a subscription for a place that has 95, 98% of the seasonal offerings versus a subscription that gives you 4 of the shows, you're going to go with the big one. And that's the unfortunate thing, because, yeah, like I've argued several times before, most of what's on HiDive is the shows I'm enjoying. And so that does kind of bug me a little bit. And the idea of, like, everybody's focused on these big shonens and these big shows that are over here, but these are the shows I enjoy personally. And I'm trying to get people to watch some of these shows, and they're going, but I already have a Crunchyroll subscription, and I don't want to sub over there just for that one show. Now, granted, HiDive has been very affordable compared to definitely Netflix, definitely Hulu, and yes, mostly Crunchyroll. But there is another side to this. I do acknowledge there's another side of this. I am not from these other regions. I am speaking based on purely what I've heard people say. And it doesn't sound like this is a good service. It looks as if, based on my scouting around and looking at what people are saying in different languages, especially Latin America, it wasn't a good service. The problem was that it seemed like HiDive pretty much went out into those regions. They stretched their arms out there. They said, here we open up. Come on in. Our doors are open. Come sign up. And they weren't doing anything with it. It's like they literally opened up a shop. They put some servers in there, and they said, come on in, sub, and they did nothing with it. I mean, if you look at, I don't know, I think it's an official Twitter account. The Latin America Twitter account, no posts. It was created a year ago when they went to those regions, and there's nothing on it. Literally no posts. Now, I don't know if maybe in those regions, Twitter's not popular. I suppose so. But they're not doing anything with it. Now, granted, it's probably more for the idea of pointing them to the direction of... Easily, they could have just had it retweet whatever was going on the official account, or have somebody just translate each of the tweets and post it on that account. But no, they did nothing with it. And that technically is a sign that a lot of what I'm hearing from a lot of people in those regions is true. They're not doing anything with it. The biggest criticism seems to be in the idea that when they were posting shows in those regions, they didn't have subtitles for their language. They were just posting the show and having English subtitles on it. They weren't giving them anything. You came over here, you're grabbing licenses, but you're not doing anything with it, and you're not feeding it to me in my native tongue. What do you expect me to do with this? Thanks? Like thanks? That seems to be the argument that I'm seeing in a lot of places. And I'm not sure exactly how true that is, but when I see literally like a large majority of people responding to this news as saying, good reasons, you guys never provide us anything, you never gave us subtitles that we needed, you were so focused on English speaking, which yes, technically this post kind of seems like it's equating to. All the emails that I'm seeing for this announcement that these people received were all in English, which yes, they don't know if who they're sending the email to knows English or not, but it's still kind of a slap in the face when you think about it. If your account is on, say, a Spanish-speaking region, a majority Spanish-speaking region, and they send you an end of service that says in English, that seems like a slap in the face. That seems like a slap in the face to me. I don't know. Am I wrong? But that seems to be sort of equated to the problem that a lot of people are having, that they're not really technically serving them proper service. They're, in a sense, half-assing it. And does that surprise me that people aren't subbing to them? It seems like most people are going, well, they came here, they're buying up licenses, they're putting shows up, but they're not subtitling it. So we're all going to fan subs. We're all waiting for somebody to translate in Spanish so that I can read it over here. That's what seems to be causing this. So it's a twofold thing. It's, yes, I acknowledge the idea that this is a very scary thing for the idea of Crunchyroll eventually finally gaining that full 100% monopoly, kicking out HiDive from this whole system. And yes, part of this whole reason is because Crunchyroll is getting all the licenses and they're snatching it all up, and HiDive is just scrounging for anybody to sub to them so they can build up. But over here, it's also, did you even try HiDive? That's the question mark. Did HiDive even try? It doesn't seem like, based on a lot of feedback, I'm seeing that. And that could be, and now granted, I do acknowledge that a lot of this side right here, a lot of the people that are complaining about, subtitles and stuff like that, it could just be what you typically hear from any service. I found my reason, I didn't sub to them. I didn't want to wait, I pirated. That's why. I don't know, but I think I give a lot of these people credit. It seems like it makes sense to me. It seems like it makes sense to me that people were just not being served a proper service. And again, that's evident through the email. It's evident through the Twitter account. It's evident through, again, a majority of these people saying the same thing. Now, I do want to make a very clear point here that don't celebrate so quickly. If you're one of these people that are like, yay, now get out of our country, don't celebrate too quickly. What happens a lot with these licenses is they get a bundle. They typically, when they go to license something, sometimes they'll just get a batch of regions. They like to throw in as many licenses as possible. They want to get as many areas as possible. This is why for the longest time, I remember people hated Funimation because there was certain regions that Funimation was grabbing the licenses and they weren't doing anything with it. They weren't providing it in that region. This might be something you'll find with HiDive. Now, again, here they're saying that they're going to get it available in other platforms in those regions, so that's a good thing. If they can give up things like Oshinoko to another platform in that region for them to handle it, we have the license, they'll pay us a little bit of money, and we'll let them stream it on their site. That's the only hope, is that HiDive will make sure to distribute those licenses to different places. But this could be something that will go forward. As they license things, they're still going to get batch licensing, and they're getting regions that they're not going to be servicing in. Hopefully they pull that back. Hopefully they allowed companies like Crunchyroll to handle it in your region. But there's a good chance that possibly could still happen, especially for what they already have. And again, That's not just HiDive. A lot of companies do this. They buy up licenses, it's batched, it's in the contract, they just get it, and they let it sit. But yeah, all that said though, it's more concerning to me, again, from the perspective of somebody in North America. Somebody that this is not, that I wasn't dealing with what people were dealing with. I wasn't dealing with that aspect of the subtitles not being available. That sounds very infuriating to me, and I fully understand that. Dialing it back to a North America's perspective, this does concern me. This concerns me because it shows me that the company itself, HiDive itself, is struggling. Again, add into that the aspect they're losing older licenses. They're not re-upping them, basically. They're not losing them, they're just not re-licensing. They have terms. So this particular period of time, you're licensing it. Once that term is up, get it off your platform or pay us some more money. They're not doing that. They're letting these licenses fall off, which concerns me to the future of HiDive itself, including with this, that they're dialing back. They're getting away from that worldwide focus. They're pulling back, which shows me they're not doing good. And again, I kind of already seen that before, especially with some news that we got around AMC and stuff like that, which bought HiDive. They were having problems. But my hope there was with things like Ocean Co. when that was blowing up, that AMC was seeing that HiDive was doing well, and they're like, okay, let's at least keep HiDive good. Let's at least give them whatever they need to keep this going, because they're obviously making money. I don't know if that's the case anymore. I don't know if they're making enough money anymore. And again, it's because there's not much for them to work with, because Crunchyroll's just essentially buying them out of business. And I have concern for that. As I've stated several times before, I want HiDive to exist. I acknowledge their flaws. I even made a whole video saying, Dear HiDive, and I went through all of my issues with it and telling them, shape up. And even when the whole thing with Ocean Co. happened, I told them, get on your game. You have a chance now. Keep those people. Whatever money you're making right now, put it into the next big show. Put it in the next big shonen. You need to get that big title and keep yourself afloat. You have to build up. And in this game, it's just like the whole thing with YouTube. It's hard for any other company to be a YouTube right now. YouTube is so massive and it's so unbreakable that any other streaming service, when everybody's like, oh, I don't like YouTube, they try to go to another company and they go, oh crap, it's buffering too much. Well, because YouTube used to be like that. You're just not giving them enough time to get on their feet. And yes, there is a time limit you can give that. I can argue that with HiDive. It's only so long that I can say, keep giving HiDive a shot. Just work with them. Let them build up. But at some point, there's going to come a time where I can no longer say that. I can no longer say, just be patient with HiDive, let them build up their service, because nothing's changing. And yes, a lot of people are going to get sick of that. And it seems like, yeah, a lot of people, when they're pulling out of these countries, are saying the same thing. Well, you never made an app. You never made a native app for this platform. You never fixed your website. You keep logging me out on your website. Why now, after so many years, do I still get logged out of HiDive.com? Like, there's still these things of like, I've waited, but you're not fixing anything. You're just sitting on this stuff. And there's a point in which people are going to get sick. And it's unfortunate because, again, I don't want Crunchyroll to be the only company. Really don't. And anybody celebrating right now, saying, well, haha, that's great, I'd rather have said, you should have done better. Not, yeah, good, get out of here so that we can go to Crunchyroll. Because as soon as Crunchyroll is the only company, things are going to start sucking. Because they're going to not want to improve anymore. And they're going to start putting things in effect that you're not going to like. And they're going to stop buying all those licenses. You like it now because it's one place to get all of your anime. But eventually, when they no longer have HiDive grabbing up the other titles, Crunchyroll's going to stop buying everything. Mark my words. Anyhow, that's the news. Let me know in the comments down below. Are you somebody from one of these regions? Is this true that you just had crappy service? They never gave you subtitles? Let me know that in the comments down below. Greatly appreciate you guys for dropping by. Hope you guys enjoyed this video as always. If you did, make sure that like button down below. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure that subscribe button to get my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more, I have a Patreon link, tips link, super thanks, membership button down below. Greatly appreciate what it does, and y'all take care.